Coming up on Mountain News at 5:30, bracing for a potentially record-setting rain. More about the destruction Tropical Storm Debbie is bringing to those across the southeast. Plus, more Kentuckians are dealing with the long-term effects of COVID, why doctors say treating it is a challenge.
And all is quiet on live pinpoint Doppler radar, but are there rain chances somewhere in the forecast? We'll talk about that in a few minutes.
Dedicated to southern and eastern Kentucky, this is WYMT Mountain News at 5:30.
Good evening, I'm Steve Hensley. Debbie has weakened to a tropical storm after making landfall in Florida's Big Bend coast as a hurricane earlier today. At least 4 storm-related deaths have been reported. The threat now is catastrophic flooding as Debbie slowly moves inland and up through Georgia. CBS's Christian Benavidez is in Savannah.
Crews worked to remove downed trees and debris in Monticello, Florida, after Debbie made landfall into Big Bend coast as a Category 1 hurricane.
We're really amazed that the water hadn't came over the seawall again so far. Hopefully, on this next tide that it won't.
Storm surge is expected to be the biggest threat in Florida, with 6 to 10 feet of inundation above ground level predicted in some coastal spots. Rescue boats were out in Sarasota, which has already received 10 to 12 inches of rain. Tragically, a 13-year-old died when the storm toppled a tree onto a mobile home in Levy County. Now a tropical storm, forecasters say Debbie is headed for coastal areas of Georgia and the Carolinas and will slow down dramatically.
We're going to see the center of the system just crawl along the southeast coast of the United States for 2 to 3 days. This is going to result in a prolonged extreme rainfall event.
City officials in Savannah declared a curfew beginning at 10 p.m. It's when the heaviest rainfall is expected.
That's what the purpose for the curfew is, to get folks out of the way of what you've never seen before.
Savannah residents loaded up sandbags, preparing for what officials are calling historic and unprecedented levels of water.
How are you feeling?
I'd rather not be here right now, but what are you going to do?
Melanie Smith got a helping hand from Sean Gardner.
I'm originally from the Bahamas, so we know about storms, really.
With a predicted 30 inches of rain in 3 days, Debbie could pack a prolonged punch. Christian Benavidez, CBS News, Savannah, Georgia.
As of approximately 3:30 this afternoon, according to PowerOutage.com, more than 300,000 customers remain without power in Florida and Georgia. Storm system Debbie stirred up some serious drugs. We're talking cocaine with a street value of more than $1 million. This is what the U.S. Customs and Border Patrol says washed ashore along a beach in the Florida Keys yesterday. 25 packages of cocaine weighing about 70 pounds. The agency says a Good Samaritan discovered the drugs and alerted authorities. The cocaine was found on a beach in Islamore, which is about 80 miles from Key West.
Well, the good news here in eastern Kentucky, all is quiet right now at this hour, and this is going to be the trend for the most part as we go throughout the week. There is a little bit of rain chance, though, somewhere. We'll talk about that in the next check weather. All is quiet on live pinpoint Doppler radar. This will get like I said, a nice break for the next several hours as high pressure is in control. And right now we're still seeing temperatures in the upper 80s and low 90s. 91 Ashland, 91 Prestonsburg, 90 in Jackson, 90 in Hazard, 90 in Manchester, 90 in Williamsburg. That's your air temperature. Your feels like temperature, 92 in Hazard, 96 in Manchester. Manchester, your feels like temperature last hour was 99, 97 in Somerset, 91 in Moorhead. So when you wake up in the morning, we'll see temperatures in the mid to upper 60s. We'll keep the wind staying out of the north and the northeast. Now, coming up in the first alert forecast, we'll talk about a little bit of a change as we go throughout the week, and it involves cooler air. Steve.
Eric, thank you. A Lexington ambulance was involved in a crash this morning. Police say the ambulance and another car were involved in an incident on Palomar Center Drive around 9:30. A patient was being taken to the hospital at the time. Another ambulance ended up taking that patient the rest of the way. No one was hurt as a result of the crash. In Boyd County, Ashland police are trying to track down a woman accused of dragging a police officer with her car. It started when an officer pulled Laurie Ann Stroud over for a traffic stop Thursday afternoon. The officer said she was not listening to commands and then drove off, dragging the officer several feet across Lexington Avenue. If you know anything about her whereabouts, you're asked to call 911. Right now, about 7% of all Kentuckians report having symptoms from long COVID. That's the 8th highest in the U.S., according to the CDC. And doctors say it is tricky because there is no true definition of long COVID, and treating it can be a challenge. Kelsey Soto has the story.
I mean, do you think this is something that we could potentially eradicate or extremely diminish?
I think we can. I don't know if we will.
Doctors say if you're experiencing some of the same symptoms for 3 months or longer beyond a COVID diagnosis, you should see your doctor about possible options and treatments.
I mean, the symptoms go on and on and on, and the question is it long COVID or is it something else?
Right now, there's no universal cure, and each person reports different side effects.
What we're seeing, too, is sometimes it doesn't make any difference if you had severe COVID or mild COVID. You could still get symptoms of long COVID. And we just really don't, at this point in time, don't know really why.
Some people report tiredness, fatigue, or even brain fog that interferes with their daily life. Others say they're experiencing persistent respiratory or digestive symptoms.
Depending on the symptom would make the treatment. So if you treat more of the symptom than you do the disease as a whole.
There are 9 long COVID clinics nationwide collecting research and studying data. They're funded by the federal government for 5 years. They meet monthly to share case studies.
It's not only hard to diagnose because there's not a specific test, there's not a specific definition of it, and there's not one size long COVID fits all.
That was Kelsey Soto reporting. The CDC stopped posting vaccination data on May 11th of this year. At that time, the national average for those getting an updated booster shot was 22.5%. Kentucky was well below that at 18.5%. Supreme Court Justice Clarence Thomas is in the headlines again for another trip he reportedly took on a mega donor's private jet. This time, the trip in question is a 2010 flight to New Zealand from Hawaii and back a week later with Harlan Crow. Senate Finance Committee Chairman Ron Wyden says Thomas never reported the flight. Crow has taken Thomas on trips in the past, including on his yacht. Thomas has previously said he was advised he did not have to disclose that hospitality. The Supreme Court has rejected a lawsuit brought by Missouri's Attorney General to lift the gag order in former President Trump's New York hush money case and delay his sentencing. Missouri's Republican Attorney General Andrew Bailey tried to file the lawsuit against New York last month. He claimed the gag order violates the First Amendment rights of the voters in his state because they are unable to hear Trump speak. QAnon shaman is getting his headdress and spear back. Also known as Jacob Chansley, authorities seized the January 6th rioter's spear and headdress when he was arrested, but now he has served his 41-month prison sentence and is on court-supervised release. A judge ruled today the seized costume garb will be returned to him. Prosecutors wanted the court to keep it in case he tries to challenge his conviction again. Louisiana officials have unveiled several posters of the 10 Commandments that could soon be placed in classrooms. They show the commandments alongside figures like House Speaker Mike Johnson, the late Supreme Court Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg, and Hamilton creator Lin-Manuel Miranda. 2 months ago, Republican Governor Jeff Landry signed a law requiring every Louisiana public school classroom to display a poster with the 10 Commandments. Coming up on Mountain News at 5:30, it's often called the happiest place on earth, but your wallet may not feel that way. Tips to help you avoid going into debt on your next trip to Disney.
And we're seeing plenty of sunshine out there. Temperatures right now are in the upper 80s and low 90s. There's a little bit of a cool down somewhere on the 7 day. We'll tell you when in a few minutes. Stay with us.